Okay, so we looked at the definitions of religion, and we looked at the definitions of lifestyle. So now we're going to look at the meaning of the word Christian. Okay, now just a little background. The word was used 3 times in the New Testament. Meanings are as follows: a follower of Christ, or one who exemplifies the life of Christ. Okay, which ties back into what we talked about earlier about set of attitudes, habits, possessions, things of that nature. And so you're going to notice as you look at the word Christian, it's going to talk a lot about those type of things. It's going to relate to those particular things, which helps us out because what we're trying to do is to truly solidify whether this is a religion or is this a lifestyle that we're trying to live out. Okay. Now, typically, like the strictest, I guess, biblical meanings we can look at for Christian is a follower of Christ, or one that exemplifies the life of Christ, as I said earlier. Now, when we say follower of Christ, then what does it mean to follow? Now, typically, I guess when I looked at it, I assumed I knew what it meant, to follow. And typically, a lot of us, and me in particular, but you may feel the same way, that I've looked at it more as like almost to stalk someone, and just everywhere they go, type of thing. And it does have some of those traits to it, but as we look further, we're going to see some even deeper insight into what it means to follow. Okay, so I want to make sure we have it clear. I don't want anyone getting locked up or anything, jumping out the bushes on anybody, on your pastor or something, or anybody. We want to be followers. Okay, but we're going to look at what does it mean to follow. Okay. It means to be in the same way with or in like manner. Okay. Now that goes back to mode, which we talked about earlier with lifestyle, how it's the habits, attitudes, tastes, moral standards, economic level, etc. together constitute the mode of an individual or group. So the mode is the manner or way of acting or living. Okay? So it means to be in the same way, the same mode as Christ, or in like manner. Okay? So it ties actually right back into lifestyle. So I think we can begin to see where the connection is. Okay, but let's continue on. Now, a lot of people may say, okay, well, Brother Gorm, we're not followers of Christ, we're disciples of Christ, and we're disciples. Let's be strict about it. Let's be as accurate as possible. And so for those who would like the word disciple inserted, we're going to use the word disciple. Okay, so we can be disciples of Christ. Okay, and I know some say, oh, it was only 12 disciples. Now, let me just clear this up. The word disciple was a very generic term during those times. Okay, and it's very important, which as believers sometimes we miss, is reading the word in context. Typically, we read the word in context of our current condition or living or environment. We can't, like, I'm in America, in Maryland. Now, I can't read the scriptures based upon being in Maryland in 2011. Okay, because I'm going to lose the true meaning of what the writer is actually trying to say. So it's highly important, excuse me, that we always view it in the context in which in the time frame in which it was actually written. Okay, so disciple was used for many things. Very generic. It was a lot of teachers. We were talking about Plato. We're talking about Socrates. We're talking. I mean, all of these different people had disciples. Okay, so it was a very generic term. And I know that, as Christians, the 12 disciples, we feel like we had a patent on that. But it actually was just a very generic term during that time. Okay? And also it means, if you be a disciple, if you notice the word discipline kind of comes out of there too. So definitely want to be a discipline if we're truly going to do that. And that could be financial discipline. That can go into a lot of areas. So if we want to truly live out that. Excuse me. Well, let's go ahead and look at this word disciple. Disciple comes from mathetes, Mathetes, okay, which comes from the word math, which is very interesting. Now, we look at the word math. You may say, what does math have to do with discipleship? Now, let's look at disciple. Disciple is imitators, or one who's following one's teaching. So we're imitating, or one who's following one's teaching. Now, it's okay to imitate. We just have to imitate the right thing. You see what I'm saying? And I know a lot of times it's used negatively, but we must imitate the right thing, and that's Jesus Christ. Okay? If we're doing what he's doing with a true heart, imitate him. Perfectly fine. But if you're imitating one of those, sinful actors, secular people, in the music industry, things of that nature, then we have a problem. Okay, because we want to be following Christ. Okay, now mathematics. Okay, now let's look at this. It's a systematic treatment of magnitude, relationships between figures and forms, and relations between quantities expressed symbolically. Mathematical procedures, operations, or properties. Now I know I said a lot, but what we want to focus on is two words here: relationship. Okay, it showed up twice. The systematic treatment of magnitude, relationships between figures and forms, okay, and relations between quantities. So mathematics is about the relationship between two things, and so discipleship is about a relationship between us and Christ. Okay, the student and the teacher. Okay, now quick question. Not going to give a yes or no answer. If it's wrong to be called a Christian, as some may say, then is it wrong to be called an American? Or you can apply, or you can add whatever nationality you are related to or connected with. No, yes or no, I'm not going to answer it. So just kind of say law, think about that, and we'll get back to that a little later. Now, we next will be looking at the first time the word Christian was used in the Bible. Okay, so we're going to look at that in just a second.